Should you rent or buy in 2025? The answer might surprise you, especially if you're comparing Manitoba's stable, affordable market with British Columbia's famously pricey real estate. While BC's housing headlines often scream about million-dollar bungalows and sky-high rents, Manitoba has quietly been building a reputation as one of Canada's most balanced markets and a hidden gem for first-time buyers and investors. But does that mean buying in Manitoba is a no-brainer? Or could renting actually be the smarter move, even in expensive Vancouver? Let's break it all down. 1. Home prices. Manitoba versus BC. Manitoba. The average residential home price in mid-2025 sits around $410,000, with Winnipeg's detached homes averaging $470,000. That's still far below the national average, making Manitoba one of Canada's most affordable provinces for ownership. British Columbia. The average home price is hovering near $980,000 in 2025, with Greater Vancouver easily crossing 1.2 minutes for a typical detached home. Even condos can run $700,000 to plus, depending on location. Impact on buy versus rent. The price gap means the upfront cost of buying, down payment, closing costs, land transfer tax, is dramatically higher in BC. For example, a 20% down payment in Manitoba might be $82,000. In BC, you'd need nearly $200,000 for a similar home. That's a major barrier for first-time buyers. 2. Monthly mortgage versus rent payments. Let's assume a 5-year fixed mortgage rate around 5%, 25-year amortization. Manitoba, mortgage on $410,000, $12,400 a month, principal plus interest. Property taxes and maintenance add $500 a month, total monthly ownership cost $2,900. BC, mortgage on $980,000, $5,700 a month. Property taxes, strata fees, insurance can add $800, $1,000 a month, total monthly ownership cost $6,500, $6,800. Rent comparison. Winnipeg's average 2-bedroom rent in 2025 is $1,500, $1,600 a month. Vancouver's average 2-bedroom rent is $3,300, $3,500 a month. So in Manitoba, renting costs roughly half of owning. In BC, renting is still cheaper than buying, but the gap is narrower, especially if you factor in long-term price appreciation. 3. Break-even point, when buying pays off. Economists often use the price-to-rent ratio to see if buying or renting makes sense. In Manitoba, the price-to-rent ratio is around 22-24, meaning it takes 22-24 years of rent payments to equal the cost of buying a similar home. In BC, the ratio can exceed 30-35 in Vancouver, meaning renting is financially smarter unless you plan to stay put for more than a decade and benefit from price appreciation. Bottom line, Manitoba buyers reach break-even faster. If you stay in your home for 5 to 7 years, you may already come out ahead compared to renting, thanks to lower mortgage costs, lower taxes, and potential appreciation. In BC, break-even can stretch well past 10 years. 4. Lifestyle and flexibility renting advantages. Flexibility to move without worrying about selling. No responsibility for major repairs or property taxes. Lower upfront costs mean you can invest your savings elsewhere. Buying advantages. Builds equity over time. Locks in housing costs. Mortgage payments stay relatively stable. Pride of ownership. Control over renovations. Stability for families. In Manitoba, because ownership costs are closer to rents, the lifestyle benefits of owning often outweigh renting for long-term residents. In BC, flexibility can be worth thousands, especially if you're not sure you'll stay long-term or if housing prices face corrections. 5. Economic and market outlook. Manitoba is expected to continue steady price growth thanks to population growth and limited supply. That means buyers could see modest equity gains without taking on extreme risk. BC, especially Vancouver, is more volatile. Prices may rise again if interest rates drop, but they're also more vulnerable to policy changes, foreign buyer restrictions, and economic shocks. This risk factor makes renting attractive for those who worry about a potential market correction. 6. Investing perspective. For investors, Manitoba offers lower entry prices, positive cash flow potential in many neighbourhoods, rent covers mortgage. lower risk of vacancy due to tight rental market. In BC, investors often need to put down a large down payment or accept negative cash flow, paying out of pocket each month, in hopes of long-term appreciation. 7. Key takeaways. Manitoba. Buying often makes sense if you have the down payment and plan to stay at least 5 years. Lower prices, lower break-even, and stable growth make home ownership more financially viable. British Columbia. Renting remains cheaper in many cases, unless you're betting on long-term price growth or need the stability of owning. Buyers face a longer path to break-even and higher market risk. So here's the real question. Would you rather buy a $400,000 home in Manitoba and start building equity today, or rent in BC and enjoy the flexibility while investing your savings elsewhere? Drop your thoughts below. Are you team buy in Manitoba or team rent in BC? And if you've made this decision yourself, what tipped the scales for you? Let's start a debate. Your insights might help someone make their biggest financial decision yet.